Alright folks, welcome back to the Steel Series Chicago Dota 2 Open, held at the Ignite Gaming Lounge, sponsored by Ignite, Dustoff, Merlini Dota, and Steel Series. I'm Vikramon. We're covering this all day today, and actually all day tomorrow. We've expanded to a 2-day event. Today we'll be going down from 16 teams to 6. Tomorrow we'll be going down from 6 teams to, of course, the winner. And this is our first losers bracket match, so one of these teams is actually going to be one of the first to get eliminated, unfortunately. So you go in, you hope to do your best, but sometimes you just drop out, and we'll have to see whether No Name or IGID will be eliminated in this losers bracket match. But I'm not alone. I'm joined here by, we've got both a stats guy and a co-caster, so Tweak will be reprising this stats role from the last game, and I think we're going to have him for a few more games after this. And then I've got a new co-caster for this game. Justin, how are you doing, my friend? Oh, crap, my Skype is muted. Alright, sorry, let's go again. Sorry about that, dude. I had you completely muted. I was like, this is awkward. How you doing, man?
It's alright, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me today, Vic.
Of course.
My name is Justin, and I played in the Chicagoland tournament last time as I'm Famous.
Yeah.
Some people might know me.
And you guys, so I had Novocaine on, who was your teammate at the last event, and then you guys placed second, right?
Yes, we did.
But, what's the deal? You're not on a team this time? You're just watching?
You know, I had joined that team the night before the tournament. They had some change-ups in their lineup, and
Yeah.
they needed somebody quick, and I was available.
All
So that's how it was. And this time around, everybody had their teams planned out before today's tournament. I was around to rain if I need to, but I'm here to cast, and either way, I'm happy.
Nice. So who are you pulling for? Who do you think's going to take it this time? You think Shibby's team going to take it again?
You know, I like Spitwad's team. I played with Spitwad a very long time ago, and I've seen his style of play. I think they're playing at a different level than most people here.
Yeah, I gotta say, we watched them last game, and they played pretty sick. That DK mid, worked out really well. I haven't seen somebody, dominate a lane on Dragon Knight. He's not a hero that usually, does that well.
Yeah, well, when you have a Dragon Knight that's getting bottle crowed, there's not a whole lot you can do against that,
Yeah.
and Storm just struggled. He struggled.
Yeah, definitely. This is kind of interesting. So No Name have gone for Puck first pick, and this is a hero that usually see teams filling out lineups with this hero, around 3rd, 4th, or sometimes 5th pick. With this first pick Puck, do you think this is just them reaching into their bag of tricks and being like, well, this is the hero we're most comfortable with? Or is this a setup for a gimmick strat somehow?
Absolutely. It's the first thing you said. When everything's on the line, you have to put your players on the heroes that they are most comfortable with.
Sure.
There's nothing against that, and it depends on how they're going to end up doing their hero picks. Puck might just be core to their lineup.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, I mean, that level of comfort is really, really important. Do you know any of these guys? Have you played with some of these folks before from the Chicago area?
No, I do not know any of these players.
Nice. I wonder if I gotta find out if they're visiting. I know that IGID are actually a Detroit team, so they came pretty far, honestly. Detroit's not super close to here, so I'm not familiar with No Name, but this should be an interesting match. And yeah, I feel like that level of familiarity is really important. I was casting a tournament a while ago that was also amateur, semi-amateur teams, and there was this one team that made a huge run on the back of a second pick Death Prophet mid. They just ran it every time, and it was so good because the guy playing it had just obviously put in his 5,000 hours of Death Prophet, so he was just the sickest crop on the block.
And I'm really disappointed that Death Prophet did not get picked at the International 3 this year.
I actually think it's kind of an underrated. Out of the heroes that didn't get picked, she's one of the stronger ones.
Yes. I really enjoy her role. However, too many of the team's strategies were playing just like Spitwad's team was playing last game.
Yeah.
Where they have a strength hero, turtle up mid, and just farm.
Yeah.
And they ban out OD every game, give that strength hero an easy win in the mid lane, and go from there.
Yeah, definitely. The really, really tanky mid that's hard to take advantage of. The other thing about DP, I guess, is she needs 11 pretty bad. And teams really fight a lot around when everybody hits 8 or 9, when she's still not that. Once you get the rank 2 ultimate, I feel like you're in business, but rank 1 is I don't know, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we'll see her this time, though. Although now that we brought it up, maybe IGID will throw in that DP mid. It's okay against Puck. It's not the worst matchup.
Yeah, well, here I'm going in dry is pretty much have told what they're going to do straight out of the gate with the Alchemist Bane pick. they're gonna go for a defensive tri lane,
Uh,
almost guaranteed with those sorts of picks.
sure. It's just the Alch Bane screens for Alchemist. I mean, you can get with Nightmare, you can actually get pretty big concoctions. It's really hard to solo against. Even something like Darkseer has a lot of trouble just because Surge doesn't matter if you get stunned for super long.
Right, just like last game, you have Bane on one hand and you have Shadow Demon on the other hand.
Yeah.
Pretty much accomplishes the same role in that lane.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be tough for No Name to field a solo that's actually going to be able to survive up through that. Do you think that pushes them more in the direction of trying to try, or do you think it's more, let's get like a jungler and just ignore that lane?
Well, if you take recent tournaments, namely the TI3 into mind, the metagame right now is very focused around the tri lane. It's around having one hero get an absolute free farm. And these really good teams have been just giving up the lane to these lanes because this Alchemist Bane combo, you have to either prepare early in your draft to offensively combat the tri lane, because halfway through a draft it's too late to then have to pick something that's going to end up there. And when you have heroes like Animage or Alchemist free farming those lanes, it just balls out of control.
Yeah, that's definitely a great point. So we'll have to see what No Name go for. I guess, yeah, like you said, the other route is just give up the lane, have your own really, really strong defensive tri lane with somebody that can be on par with Alchemist if it gets farm, or even outcarry him like something like the AM, and just hope for the best from there. But it's tough in a best of one because who knows, you might not be able to outfarm the other team, you might not be able to protect your try. And IGID, meanwhile, a little bit of a gimmick, I guess, here. So they're going the Bane Mirana. Is this probably support Mirana, or do you see her being maybe part of a... I guess they could aggressive try and run Alchemist solo safe.
You know, with Mirana, that could be their off laner too. It all depends on what No Name has in their safe lane.
Sure.
Mirana can go either way, and just like you saw with Na'Vi in TI3, they were running Mirana at the Ancients.
Right.
And just constantly helping middle lane win the lane.
It's kind of a Radiant-specific strat, though.
Mm-hmm. But it can be done both sides.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, they could try to get... What's your take on Mirana in general, actually? I like talking about this hero because everybody has a completely different opinion. I was talking to people at TI3 and it ran from like, dude, everybody should be playing Mirana, all the way down to Mirana's the worst hero ever created. So what's your take on this hero, especially picking her this early?
Well, I don't think picking her... Well, okay, my take on Mirana is that she doesn't really have the damage output early enough in the game that you would want. And she ends up, in my opinion, being really weak in mid-game fights. If the other team wants to push in the mid-game, she's still trying to get just enough items so she can pull off a spell combo and then leap out of the fight. She doesn't have the farm yet to have those damage items that, yeah, if it goes really late game, Mirana can be good.
Right.
So, Mirana is not a good carry hero in the traditional sense of a carry. But if she has other heroes on her team that are constantly drawing attention to them, and she can always kite from the outside and deal damage from the outside, then she's a good pick.
Okay.
And in this lineup with an Alchemist is going to be taking all the attention.
Sure. And I mean, now with Kunkka as well, they definitely deliver a tremendous amount of damage even before or even without any farm on the bottom.
And there's burst, and they gave up their middle lane too with that Kunkka against the Puck. And a Puck can beat a Kunkka, but it's very hard. And you know, I wouldn't be surprised if they throw a ward up in that middle lane just so he can get a heads up on when Kunkka's going to come in to slash.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's definitely possible. Interesting hero pickups all over the place, actually. I guess this is it looks like it's probably going to be a safe lane Sven. Although they could do some sort of tricky roaming combo, maybe. I'm not 100% sure. Where do you see the Sven fitting in?
Well, they needed damage and beef somewhere, because with all the burst damage coming out from Alchemist now, well, I mean, Kunkka, they came later, but they need something that's going to be able to stand toe-to-toe with it, because if you don't have any way to box out the Alchemist, he's going to run over your team every time. Every time. So they need somebody to stand toe-to-toe with him. He has to be tanky and stand there in the team fight while the rest of his team does the work. And I really like the Clockwork pick there, too. because Sven is going to be countered by that Bane really hard. And
Right.
Clockwork, getting his ultimate off on the Bane is going to be critical for all of these team fights.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I feel like IGID's lineup, actually, the Bane is the linchpin. So I really want to see No Name put a tremendous amount of pressure on the Bane Elemental. And if they can get a lot of kills and always take him out early in team fights, I think IGID is going to have a tremendous amount of trouble. Yeah, so they add Treant. Treant really just gives their solo lanes a lot of punch. But what he doesn't do is, until really, really late, when he can just chain overgrowths and stuff like that, like, he's not going to add much to the team fight. I feel like the Bane, Nightmare, and Fiend's Grip are, like, so drastically important for IGID's lineup. It sets up Unstable, it sets up Arrow from Mirana, Torrent, Ghost Ship. All of that relies on making sure that people are in place for those spells to land. So Overgrowth helps to some extent, but Nightmare, just in all phases of the game, is really, really, really important.
Yeah, well, the thing I like about Tree here is Alchemist and Bane is going to be able to do well in their safe lane just by themselves.
Sure.
No Name doesn't really have a good competition for them in that top lane. So Treant is going to be able to support the off lane from halfway across the map with
Sure.
Living Armor. And that's why I like the pick. And two, the second thing you said with Overgrowth and Kunkka's ship, you know, that they have the team fight.
Yeah.
All handled.
So, No Name adds ES to fill out their roster. So, do you think with the ES, it could be aggressive try? Because if they're running Mirana off, ES is not going to be able to help kill her, really, because she can just go over the Fissure. But maybe if they run Try v Try, they can box with Fissure and try to get a kill? Or do you think it's not enough damage output?
I just don't see it. I don't, but you know, it's very hard to predict these teams and what exactly they want to do. So we'll just have to wait and see with that one. Another thing I wanted to point out though with IGID's lineup is they can chase down every single fight.
Yeah.
They have X marks the spot. They have Bane's Nightmare. They have Alchemist stuff. They're going to be able to chase down.
Everybody forgets the leap.
They're going to be able to chase down and pick apart the team if No does not commit to their fights.
Yeah.
And one thing about Earthshaker that does help him out there is he's going to be able to block somewhat.
Sure.
The chase.
That's a great point. I mean, yeah, if they're trying to get out of something, the Earthshaker might be pretty key to have a good defensive fissure. I gotta say though, the difficulty that No Name are gonna face here in some respects is that. Wait, am I getting broadcasted out to the? Trying to figure out what the deal is with the sound. Hopefully it's not too bad. Hang on one second. Okay, they can't, but somebody can. Okay, I guess we're good to go. All right. So one thing that's scary to me about No Name's lineup here, and I'll introduce them in just a second, is they have a really tight timing window. Like they don't win late because they don't really have that much combo, and Sven isn't going to outcarry Kunkka, Mirana, and Alchemist. And the lanes aren't very easy for them either. So just in general, I feel like they need to find this like perfect mid-game timing when Puck and Sven are the scariest people on the map and just like, exploit the hell out of it. And so they're going to have to be pretty careful about what they do. Well, 2-minute delay is not that bad, I guess. Alright, well, I guess we're audible on 2-minute delay, but hello teams of 2 minutes into the future, and we should be okay, hopefully. I don't know. So, yeah, actually, we may pause. I'm not sure. Sorry if I was trying to figure out what the deal is. Alright, well, I guess people can hear me, but it's on a 2-minute delay. Sorry about that, folks. We're going to jump right into this game. IGID versus No Name. On No Name's side, we've got a safe lane tri-lane composed of Zundmaster on the Sven, Tech Noobzor. I think we saw him in the last competition on the Earthshaker. I can't remember what team he was on. He's obviously switched teams. And Mr. Mike is on the Rubik. In the middle, Delicieuse will be on the Puck. And then the off lane, this is going to be a very, very difficult lane, but Toolbox will be handling it on the Clockwork. Looking over to IGID, also fighting for their lives. Both teams 1 point away from elimination, so they're going to definitely try to take this game out if they can. Tri-lane, safe lane. Actually, we already have the Bane. There's the Sacred Arrow. Alchemist charging up the Unstable Concoction. Tremendous amounts of damage being thrown out on Toolbox. One more hit will do it. Bane manages to secure that kill, and that's an easy first blood. And you're back, Justin?
Yes, I'm back. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Yeah, they opted to have the Mirana in the top lane, and in reality, he shouldn't even be up there, the Clockwork. He's not going to have any chance in the world.
Yeah. This is the one concern I have here with running the... Actually, I Kiss My Sister in a little bit of trouble there. He backs off. Puck decides not to jump in. He doesn't actually have Waning. He just has Orb and Phase Shift, so even if he jumped in, he wouldn't be able to just get the kill with Waiting. I think Phase Shift probably smart. You can see it becomes a game. This is actually a really interesting matchup because the timing of Phase Shift becomes really important. If you can juke out most of the Tidebringers, I feel like you do well, but otherwise it might be really tough. So what do you do as Clockwork? Is there anything that you could do?
You know, the team can rotate. Like you were saying earlier, they probably needed to compete against it. It's not going to take much to box that Treant out.
Right.
If it was Mirana bottom, it would have been a different story. But with Mirana being top lane, they're going to have guaranteed kills every time with Nightmare. So they do need to rotate.
Yeah.
And if they're not, there's nothing he's going to do other than feed.
Yeah, I just don't know. I feel like when they're using this fluff and stuff like support stun tossing Mirana, it's just not possible for Clockwork to live. Every time Bane approaches you, you're pretty much dead. When you have more than one person there, when you have the tri-lane, you can like switch the Nightmare, and then you can make sure that Arrow misses, because Arrow's always going to be on the Nightmare guy. Like, there was a game that I cast just before TI3, the GEST Finals, where one of the teams, I think it was Mineski, tried to do the Mirana tri-lane combo, and the other team would just constantly absorb arrows. They would either have Juggernaut run in spin form to eat the arrow, or they would just switch who the Nightmare was on. And I feel like that's a really great way to neuter Mirana's effectiveness, and it's something that, unless they rotate, No Name won't be able to do it.
Yeah,
what about these other lanes, though? You think Treant probably can't get much XP, right?
Yeah, no, he's just going to be lucky. And unlike Clockwork, who can use cogs to slow down the creeps and possibly bring the lane towards him, yeah. Treant doesn't have anything going in his favor right now. I'm actually surprised he's down there. I would expect him to be doing all the pulling in the top lane. Sure. And Mirana could be hanging in between middle lane and top lane back and forth.
Sure. Yeah, I am kind of surprised. I guess... I mean, he still has that living armor that he can contribute to making sure that Kunkka does okay in the middle, and that's a useful tool, certainly. When you are doing this solo hard lane Treant, this generally only works against teams that really can't, like, CC you and just kill you down, which I think this team can. If he does manage to find level 2, he could always nature his guys and just stealth to victory. Dota Demon, like, stealth in the trees strats.
Yeah, I mean, Earthshaker does have a sentry ward, though, so
yeah, that's true.
They know by now that the pull isn't warded, so he's going to be able to have those sentries still around to kill the tree if he was trying to do shenanigans like that.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point.
Now, one difference I would make with Treant compared to the Tidehunter that offlaned last game is, well, I guess my problem with the last game is the Tidehunter didn't offlane and didn't get any levels in that game. And Treant, his ultimate it's more defensive than offensive, unless he farms a lot of gold, which I don't know, other than Schwan, no Treant really farms gold anymore.
The 26-minute Midas Treant was so good.
Right. He's not going to ever be able to get into position for overgrowth unless it's defensive, or he just catches people way off guard.
I gotta say, for the offlane Treant, I'm surprised at this Quelling. He has Quelling Stout Tango. What do you think the Quelling's for? Is it just cutting like a little like Hannah Montana style like thing in the trees for him? Like, I don't think he's gonna be able to come up to lane to actually last hit.
He has 85 base damage, it's kind of a waste, but to each their own.
I mean, it is a percentage buff, so if he ever hits a creep, he'll hit it for a lot, but I just don't know when he's gonna have a chance to hit. Well, maybe right now, because this lane is actually way up. I'm surprised they haven't done more pulling. Where's Rubik, actually? Oh, okay. So they sent Rubik, so Mr. Mike is transition top. They are going to rotate. This is probably smart, honestly. Rubik Nightmare. Will they transfer? They won't. They're just going to sacrifice the Rubik. There's the Sacred Arrow. Unstable Concoction to follow. Rubik drops very quickly. Cogs will trap Friendly Wizard and Aiden Lorenzen, but Toolbox forced to flee, as they simply don't have the follow-on damage. Earthshaker drops a Fissure, but it's not going to be enough. So right now it's looking like they may just send Sven as well. But he doesn't have money to buy TP, so, It looks like they're going to try to transition the tri-lane, though. Like, have a tri-lane top to fight the tri. It might be a Clockwork-based tri-lane rather than a Sven-based tri-lane, but either way, this should be able to contest much more easily. Or at all.
Yeah, I think the Clockwork staying up there, the problem there was the Earthshaker came much, much later than the Rubik, and he wasn't there for the fight. And IGID just decided to go into the fight before anything could happen.
Do you think that if Earthshaker comes earlier, they can actually, like, turn that fight?
In that fight, yeah, the Bane was very low on health, and he didn't have mana. His Nightmare does take a lot of his mana pool, almost half of it. So, you know, he wasn't quite ready for that fight.
Right.
And if Earthshaker was there and they were all doing right clicks, then yes, definitely.
All right. Well, hopefully No Name will be able to stabilize now. They do now have the full 3 in that lane, 3 versus 3. They don't have the pulls blocked yet, so IGID immediately transitioning to more of sort of a pulling standard 3v3 safe lane game where you just try to stay back, pull the lane back as far as possible, and deny XP to the opposing tri-lanes. That's a smart transition. Meanwhile, in the middle, Delicieuse and I Kiss My Sister still having this battle of wills. They're actually more or less even. 10 for 0 on the Puck, 9 for 2 on the Kunkka, and Kunkka tried for his combo, but very, again, really good phase shift timing from Puck. What's your take on this Puck build, by the way, 1-3-1?
It's interesting. I've Wayne and Rift, its damage isn't the best.
I think they got Mr. Mike. Yeah, Friendly Wizard manages to pick him off. Even with the Cogs, they weren't able to screen. The one thing No Name haven't really been doing is disrupting those Sacred Arrow landings at all. Every single arrow has been on point. Sorry, I interrupted you. We're talking about the winning Rift build.
Oh, it's interesting. You're relying on to get a kill right off the bat by being able to man up against the melee hero in the fight.
Right.
You know, I still don't see it in this game, though.
Yeah. And Kunkka, for his part, has gone for the 2-1-2. This is the newer Kunkka build. Now that the mana cost of X marks the spot is so much lower, you can actually afford to cast it. So it kind of guarantees that you land the Torrent, except, of course, Puck, his response is usually to phase shift that. But I guess you can actually do some pretty tricky stuff. Like, you can X and force him to, Puck with a haste rune. Go ahead and try to jump in, but Waning Rift by itself will not be enough to actually make Kunkka scared at all. So he's going to keep crowing and should probably be okay in this lane. Sven is the farming leader by a pretty substantial margin. Do you think that gives No Name any sort of edge?
No, I mean, Alchemist is going greed build, and they have kills in that top lane. Alchemist himself doesn't have the gold, but I don't think that's a big issue.
Looks like pre-boots Midas for Elk, too, so they're going to try to get to that point at which they outcarry really fast.
Yeah, he's definitely going greedy with the Greevil's Greed instead of going Acid Spray against the tri-lane. So he is a little caught behind in that regard.
Yeah. At this point, he's... Oh, man, what an arrow. Actually, a blind arrow there. No Bane to set it up, but they managed to stun Tech Noobzor and do a tremendous amount of damage. I mean, it is a rank 2 arrow, and it was for almost the whole length, so probably about 240, 250 damage off that arrow. That damage boost is no joke in early game.
Yeah, and he's actually leveled Leap up 2 levels instead of getting Starstorm at all.
Yeah.
Which, you know, he knows he's going to be under leveled and he's not ever going to be farmed to push the lane, so I can see his reason in there, but it's interesting to point out.
It's definitely a very interesting... I mean, it's lower CD by a substantial-ish margin, and it does give a little bit more of a speed boost as well, so it's a little bit team helping. It actually helps your push a lot if they want to transition into a push. If they think that they're just going to crush this try and get better levels, which so far their whole tri-lane is 1 full level ahead, so that's definitely in good shape. Once they feel like pushing, they can actually... If the leap is like rank 3 and the CD is really low on it, you can just push with it and then still leave. And Tree is now farming pretty well too, actually.
Now, one thing that I've noticed is that this Kunkka is not bottle crowing at all, and that's kind of putting him behind in these fights. As a strength hero, especially going against the Puck, he did win that last rune battle, but he didn't quite... He's losing a lot of the farm he could be getting.
Right. Delicio's doing some very excellent juking there, actually. He completely wastes the smoke of IGID. The gank does not succeed. Bane can't find him. Mirana can't find him. And that's actually a bunch of support time wasted. That's maybe an opportunity for No Name to get some pressure back on their side in the try. There's the cogs. Ah, they don't get the lift. They didn't catch the Alchemist in it.
Yeah, they're not quite coordinated.
Oh,
on the top
man.
lane.
Big Sacred Arrow again. Sunmaster actually used his ultimate and the stun and the Warcry, and he's probably going to die instead. One more hit from Bane, and that's actually 3-0 and 1 Bane Elementals, so already doing a lot of work. Sorry, you were saying?
Oh, I was just saying they left this Alchemist behind top, but he's going to be able to get away with this right now because there just hasn't been great coordination on this offensive tri lane up top.
Yeah.
And the level advantage is playing in his favor.
For sure. I mean, he's what, level 6 already? Is he?
And oh,
No, he's 5. Here comes the combo. Nightmare into Arrow. Puck goes down. Bane's stealing another kill. He doesn't even care at this point. He can actually make his, if he wants mana boots, he can have them right now. This is a really, really big Bane. Almost level 6 already from a tri-lane.
Now, Radiant doesn't have any wards up other than at the very top of the map, so you know, letting these supports roam around the map like this is just absolutely killing No's strategy.
It really is. I mean, they already with the Sven going down, they're going to try to trap Alchemist. Nice fissure, but they just don't have the follow-up damage. Meanwhile, there goes the concoction. Will they throw the arrow? The arrow goes, hits Technoobzor. Nice little defensive cogs, but again, they're forced to back off. Every time they even pick a fight up in this top lane, they just don't seem to have the levels or the damage without Sven there to actually follow through on it. So what's your take on what should No Name's approach be? Just double down and try to find some kills, or is there a way that they can try to get map control back? Wards, I guess?
Exactly what they're doing now. Their Puck's level 7. He has his ultimate if he needs to get in there and get some fights. And if they can't win any fights now, they're going to have no chance later.
Right. Alright, fair enough. I mean, the Kunkka is still in position in mid. Maybe they can generate a fight opportunity here. Toolbox is walking in. He doesn't have his ultimate yet, but the Puck can jump in. There's the telekinesis. Probably Fissure to follow misses, but Alchemist is trapped in. Fiend's Grip gets thrown out on Toolbox. Alien Lorenza is actually still up. The living armor doing work, but Puck finally jumps over. Uses the Dream Coil, helps them secure that kill. Nightmare onto Puck under the tower, and I think the Alchemist is the only kill, though. Get the... nice! Excellent phase shift to dodge the arrow coming from Mirana, and so Friendly Wizard and 7 Deadly Sins are peeled back. But I Kiss My Sister, he's got the Invisrune. There's the X marks the spot. Torrent to follow. One smack of the Tidebringer brings him extremely low. Technoobs are, wow, what a nice defensive telekinesis, but 7 Deadly Sins leaps over to secure that last hit. Still has arrow available. Toolbox's cogs actually traps them in. That'll land on Delicios. He's so incredibly low. And that's a double picked up for the Mirana. Torrent will miss, but the Unstable Concoction lands on the Rubik and Clockwork. That'll mop it up. 9-1 the IGID's through line there, and just honestly out-executing in that fight by a pretty substantial margin.
Yeah, one thing I want to point out about No in this lineup right now is not a single one of them has a magic stick. And there's a lot of spells being casted by IGID, and especially if you want to go for early game aggressive.
Sure.
Those items are critical for these sorts of team fights. And,
Yeah.
you know, Earthshaker, he casts one spell, and at this point in the game, that's 3/4 of his mana pool. He's done.
Yeah.
You know, they need those little extra boosts to be able to cast spells in those fights, and that might have looked completely differently if they had items like that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Even, honestly, even the Sven, who's in a lane against, like, a Treant who's going to cast Living Armor on CD, Magic Stick wouldn't be that bad for him, and he can always use that to then TP over with a full health and mana pool and try to win a fight. So yeah, that's a pretty good point. Does Dire have any? They don't really have any either, but I guess for them, it's slightly less important because they're only gonna... the spam is only really gonna come out during fights rather than between.
Yeah, they have 2 mana boots on their team, so
Yeah.
they're going about it that way.
Right. They definitely have better sustain at this point. I mean, 9-1 is pretty commanding kill advantage. A lot of that on the supports too, which is actually, I feel, pretty good in this situation because it lets them really be ahead on levels. Mirana is up there with Sven and Puck. Like, that's a really, really leveled support. And Bane is... you usually don't see a Bane in a safe tri-lane being level 7 at this point. So yeah, I mean, it looks like No are just going to try to come back again, try to get up in the lane, put a lot of pressure on. With no Clockwork ultimate, with no Rubik ultimate, I mean, actually nobody in this tri-lane has an ult. It's just Puck who's gone back mid, and Kunkka. So, do they have to wait until they try to find 6 until they fight again?
You know, sorry, I'm caught up right now on the Sven in the bottom lane has been wasting a lot of time going back and forth ferrying items, and he's still not at full health. If he needs to have some sort of initiation in these fights, because I really don't think this Puck is quite there to the blink and is going to be able to do it on his own.
Yeah. It's going to be, yeah, honestly, he's only at about 900 gold. 30 last hits, died twice. Doesn't have tier 2 boots. I don't even know. I guess he can just skip to the blink. There's Moonlight Shadow. It's going to be a big initiation up in the top. Eddie and Lorenza is trapped in. They've used this Moonlight defensively to try to get him out, and unfortunately that won't be a kill for No Name. They weren't quite prepared to deal with the Moonlight Shadow escape, and that's very, very nice to avoid a kill coming out on the Alk. They're going to use the tail end of the Moonlight Shadow to rotate into the middle. Delicios is still here. If they could land a Nightmare, but they're going to be in vision. He's probably safe, more or less. Actually, I don't know what Puck is doing. He seems almost is buying up some items. So they've temporarily rotated the Mirana to the mid. He's got good levels, so he'll be able to pick up some farm here. And yeah, No Name just can't find an opportunity. Actually, Zundmaster being chased by Kunkka. He's completely under tower. One more last hit will do it, or even a well-placed Torrent. There's the Torrent. He actually pump fakes it. It misses. Zundmaster still alive. Kunkka taking a tremendous amount of tower damage. Living Armor will help, though. All he needs to do is probably hit this wave, and that'll do it. Sven gets picked off. Like you said, Justin, I mean, he was pretty low for that entire period of time, and with this Urn build, he has to sort of be trying to help out in their fights, I feel. I don't know.
Yeah, well, if you have an Urn, there's no point in having an Urn if you don't have charges, and you're not going to get charges unless you're playing aggressive. One thing about Potom, or Mirana, I should say, people that try to play her as a carry is not playing her in the right. I mean, sorry for missing on that fight there. That Bane just got picked out for being in bad position.
Yeah.
But you can play Mirana almost like you can play a Furion. You should always be pushing the side lanes. You're really hard to gank. Of course, you can't teleport across the map like a Furion can, but you can still do essentially the same role.
Yeah.
And this Mirana doesn't have Starfall. She's going complete gank, and I don't know if maxing out Leap is really the best thing at this point, but it's a great way to play Mirana.
Sure. Zundmaster throws out the Sven stun. He actually backs off, even though they have a pretty good fissure. There's the Overgrowth in response. Only hits on Mr. Mike. The Ghost Ship coming in from the side. Again, this will just tag the Rubik and the Puck as well. So they kill one, but there's the hook shot. Finally level 6 available for Toolbox. But now he's trapped under tower, and again, they just can't really follow it up. Zundmaster uses the Sven ultimate and is immediately forced to back up. They just can't find under tower like this. Unstable concoction. The turret to follow. Tech Noobs are stunned as well. That's 3 down for No Name, and they just cannot find the fight that they really want. Living Armor for Gambler as they continue to chase. There's the Sacred Arrow. It hits Sven! Another kill, and they lose in the end 4 from a fight that, again, they started. 5. The Brain Sap from long range to tag the Puck. Nobody makes it out alive. I just see IGID transitioning into a push from here. It looks like I Kiss My Sister's actually going to go Battle Fury Kunkka, but I'm not sure that the farm will really come into play ever, but the big AoEs might.
Yeah, he could always go crit too.
Oh, he could go straight crit stick, you're right,
yeah. Yeah, the Puck did dodge a stun, an unstable concoction in that fight, but it wasn't enough. There was just too much damage too fast, too much burst, and a lot of control in the fight too.
It was. And I think you brought up right at the beginning of the game that IGID have a great lineup that to chase. Like, if you pick a fight and you realize that it's not, like, actually favorable and you want to back off, it's almost impossible to do so. I think you said that right at the beginning. It's completely true. Their escape was completely blocked off by Ghost Ship, Unstable Concoction, Torrent, Overgrowth. There were just so many tools to make it nearly impossible for any of them to get out alive, and none of them did in the end. So,
yeah.
That's my phone.
Yeah, and that comes into play with Clockwork. You know, they're playing an offensive lineup, but Clockwork has to be either super offensive, and he's getting initiated on now. Oh, the Mirana just gets away in that fight.
That was a pretty sick leap. Dreamcoil will interrupt the Bane, and an excellent Echo Slam actually brings 2 down immediately. No Name may have finally found a fight that they can take. Toolbox not hit by the Ghost Ship. Here comes Puck with the reinitiation, but Earthshaker eats a Sacred Arrow. Sven stun. 7 Deadly Sins could be in trouble. Do they finally have detection this time? Wow, what a nice defensive Torrent. And IGID escape with only losing their 2 supports so far. Earthshaker does have a haste, but no mana for the Fissure. You brought up his poor mana pool, and that just really comes to bite him there, as he has no ability to actually cover the escape. But that was a decent fight for No Name, I guess. The first fight they've had where they can really be happy with the result.
Yeah, they absolutely needed that. And Sven did have a sentry ward, but he might have just forgotten that he had it in that fight. And they could have been able to get 2 more of those kills.
Yeah. IGID were able to escape in some respect.
Now, the Kunkka does have that Chrysalis, and that's going to give him a lot of damage. If he gets lucky with his Tidebringers and gets that crit off, they're just going to melt pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Getting that quick Chrysalis, and I can't believe I forgot that was probably going to be Chrysalis. Like, oh, he's going Battle Fury for no reason. But, I mean, the crit will be huge. He's already... I mean, even just the health pools. Puck, with this Tier 1 boots, since he's just going to skip straight ahead to Blink Dagger, he has 758 HP at max. Clockwork is decently tanky, Rubik is even less than that, and even Earthshaker is not tremendously tanky yet, so... A good crit could just bring down half the team, and then how do you win that fight if you lose half the team at the beginning of it? Sacred Arrow will hit Mr. Mike. Rubik stunned for an extremely long time. A very nice Sven stun to respond. Puck going to jump in if he can. The Ghost Ship disrupts his plans, though. Torin on 2 once again. Tech Noobs are exiting the fight. Zunmaster beginning to assail them with those Sven hits, and they get 1 and back off, so... 2 fights, which lots of damage being thrown out on both teams, but the end result somewhat anticlimactic, but... I guess any fight in which No Name managed to take 1 for 0 or 2 for 0 is a great fight when you're in a behind sort of position.
Yeah, and you know, what was similar about both of those fights is that the Alchemist is not there. The Alchemist is in their top lane right now. He didn't even have a TP scroll to go into that fight. And, you know, all the setup there takes quite a while. If he was able to TP in late, he's easily going to be able to get his concoction off and be able to help him win that fight. But he wasn't there. And... The important pickup that just happened is Puck was able to get a blink because of that.
Yeah.
And they weren't able to stop that blink, and that might be the difference changer now, if this Puck can control the game.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point. I mean, that fight and the fact that Puck only barely lived through it, but he did, and he finished off his Blink Dagger. Now, the trade-off is that Adian Lorenzo was able to pick off his Shadow Blade as a result of just standing there and free farming, so Shadow Blade's going to be very, very nice for Alchemist to set the pace of fights on his terms, but the Blink Puck could make a difference as well. Coming from behind, we've got the Smoke Gank from Friendly Wizard and 7 Deadly Sins again. They're kind of caught out a little bit. This is not what they wanted. Fiend's Grip getting thrown in on Delicios. Puck actually may get brought down. No, a fantastic defensive fissure. They missed the arrow to follow. The stolen arrow doesn't land either. But Kunkka, with a big Tidebringer crit, picks off Puck in the backfield and Earthshaker in the front. So 2 kills for IGID, even from a fight that wasn't the most comfortable in the world for them. And yeah, I mean, this has been a fantastic Kunkka game. 6-0-7 and 66 for 3 gives him a higher GPM than one of the better Kunkkas that we saw during TI3, which was the prelims Tongfu played Kunkka. And yeah, I mean, this has been a really on-point Kunkka game. Do they have to focus him harder?
They just need to be able to get the jump on the fight. And that Puck needs to be able to jump in on the fight and get the silence off on the Bane and the Tree. And if they can zilch those heroes out of the fight and survive the first salvo of the Kunkka, then they have a chance. If they can't do that, though, I don't see them ever winning a team fight.
Sure.
Now, one thing I do like is the Clockwork is going for a Blade Mail. And that is one of the best counters to Kunkka in the game.
Yeah. And I mean, even Alchemist, if he's trapped inside of a set of cogs with you, is going to try to beat on you. Oh, what a Sacred Arrow. I think Puck just gets picked off. They dump pretty much every spell into him, but he does get the tower deny, but not before he actually drops for the privilege. So he has his blink. This isn't the worst death, but another nice pickoff for IGID. But yeah, you brought up the Blade Mail on Clockwork. He's about 700 gold away. I think that could definitely be very, very big for them to try to sort of get some... Oh man, the hookshot is a half second early. And unfortunately, the combo that they were going for doesn't come off. They don't get 7 Deadly Sins. They will Warcry to retreat, maybe? Or I guess they could fight. I'm not sure. Do you think they fight here? No Name?
I think they want to fight. They've committed all their heroes here, whereas IGID still has heroes farming on just different sides of the map. So if they don't utilize these times where they're grouping up together, they're just asking to be out-leveled and out-farmed.
There is a mechanism up for Treant for this fight, so it's going to be tough. Nice Sacred Arrow coming from the Rubik. Gambler is stuck for a little bit. Fissure to follow. The actually immediate interrupt. There's the Echo Slam. Very nice so far, continuing to chain up those stuns. But the Moonlight Shadow comes through. IGID are going to try to flee out of this fight if they at all can. Treant already down, and 3 down actually. The full combo lands. The Sven stun, the Fissure, and the Cleave to follow. And that's basically what they've been wanting all game. They probably get a tier 1 tower off of this. Well done to No Name. I mean, it's exactly what they wanted to happen, and it finally came together for them.
Yeah, and again, that's a fight without Alchemist. Alchemist doesn't have a teleport scroll or anything that he wants, so they're going to be able to take advantage of those fights.
That's a good point. But even if he were there, I mean, could he have lived if he was caught in that big, like, Echo Slam, Fissure, Sven stun?
Yeah, no, Sven in that fight, Sven is very item limited right now. He's making up 3,000 gold, and I'm not quite sure what he's going for. But in that fight, his mana pool is only 338. He can't even cast his full combination of spells. Well, he has just enough mana to cast his full combination of spells.
Oh, yeah.
Once.
Wow.
With his mana pool.
They do have 2 Arcane Boots? Or just 1? They only have 1. Yeah.
Yeah, so in that fight, his stun was off cooldown. He was able to stun and wipe all of them instantly if he had mana. So we'll have to see what he's trying to pick up in this fight. But it could have looked a whole lot worse for IGID had the Alchemist.
Yeah, they could have lost everybody. They lost 3, which wasn't great, but I guess Sven can tread switch for a little bit extra mana, but probably not enough to get a stun. Yeah, I can't believe he's banking 3.5k. Do you think this might be a... I don't even know. Crit, maybe? Nice jump in by Puck. Gets the Waning Rift on everybody, but they have no follow-up this time. Fade Bolt comes through, but no Fissure, no... obviously no Blink on the Earthshaker. He did go that Arcane Boots. I mean, they want the extra mana. They're such a mana-dependent team that they really need extra jolts of that to try to get it. God, I don't know. Sven? Crit would be good, I guess. BKB would be good. Rapier? Rapier?
Yeah, I see BKB in this game.
Yeah.
If you hold it off and cast it after the tree, you can break the trio off of you. And that should be his goal going into every team fight.
That's a good point. You can still get shipped, I guess, but that's about it. Yeah, I mean, he could go BKB. I'm just surprised that he hasn't picked up the club, at least. It would be a really useful pickup for him. Wow, IGID gets completely caught out of position. They have used the Moonlight Shadow. The Stolen Torrent from Mr. Mike. He's actually been pretty good with these stolen spells. Landed a bunch of arrows as well as a Torrent, but unfortunately they don't have the vision, and Tech Noobsar could get caught. There's the Sacred Arrow. It hits the Earthshaker. This is a tremendous amount of trouble. They need to start the fight with Earthshaker available. Here comes the Ghost Ship. Echo Slam hits. Boat on 3, and No Name are in a lot of trouble with the Stolen Torrent still coming through. Mechanism will save IGID from having a lot of trouble here, and Sunmaster, now he's fleeing out of the fight. Unfortunately, actually, I think the Mechanism was the difference maker, and they might lose 5. 7 Deadly Sins down. The Treant gets picked off in the backcourt. Puck going to try to make his way out of this fight. Oh, the X will whiff. Or actually, did it? Who's the X even on?
He X'd his own teammate.
Oh, yeah. No. Wow, that fight was really, really back and forth. I actually think Mechanism was the only reason IGID didn't lose that fight.
Yeah, and you know, the Alchemist came late into that fight. I'm sorry if I have a lot of background noise.
It's all right.
The Alchemist came late into that fight, but once he came in, I mean, he walked out of that fight with full health too.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was it's a very awkward place to get caught, and as you could see, everybody hit their large AoE spells.
Right, because it's kind of impossible not to hit them in this little corridor.
Right, and the Sven was there right at the start of the fight, so he was able to do plenty of damage, but the Alchemist wasn't. So
yeah,
they need to choose better locations for their fights.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, IGID did benefit from being able to hit the ship on 3 was definitely an enormous factor, but it got to said for No Name, even though, honestly, after the laning phase, which went really, really, really poorly, I think just due to some, like, strategic decisions, they haven't really been playing any worse. Like, the execution in the fights I felt has been pretty good. And in that fight, Earthshaker, before he died, managed to pop, I think, Echo Slam and one other spell. And that was pretty important to be able to not just get crushed. But they're going to need mech. I mean, they probably feel the sting of not having Mechanism there. Sven was forced to disengage pretty early because he didn't have enough health to do so. And Rubik and Earthshaker, likewise, probably wouldn't have died if they hadn't... if they were able to mech up. But there's the Fiend's Grip from Friendly Wizard, right on the Bane. Nice Sacred Arrow from the back. Delicios actually in a lot of trouble. Doesn't get stunned out until too late. Friendly Wizard taking a lot of damage in the cogs of the Clockwork. They're going to try to escape with Moonlight Shadow for the 3rd time. The Mirana will go down. Hookshot to a friendly from Toolbox. Uses his Blade Mail. Not too much effect, unfortunately. Tech Noobs are going to try to use the Fissure to escape, maybe even to turn it around. Brainsap brings him extremely low. The long-distance Stormhammer, not enough. Living Armor helping quite a bit there. And a bit of a KG fight. Mirana for Puck. Probably not a great trade if you're no-name, especially since Alchemist is still farming. Now Full Caress is going to be brought out to him. Is that a big difference maker?
He opted for the Cuirass before the BKB, and that's going to delay their ability to be able to push. But they still have this game in the hand. They have complete map control. All the lanes being pushed right now. And No is really sitting on their heels. Yeah. So they had some great stun blocks in that fight from the Earthshaker, but their whole team still wasn't there, and they weren't able to finish in the heroes because of it.
Yeah, and levels are becoming an issue pretty rapidly as well. The Clockwork, the aggressive Trilon that they ended up settling with, the Clockwork, Rubik, Earthshaker, all these guys are stuck at about level 9, where the lowest level of IGID is 11 on the Bane, and he's built not super tanky yet, but they are building like mass Force Staff, and that'll give them much better positioning. Like Treant's getting Force probably, Bane's getting Force. If they can give themselves great position or push people out of clock cogs, that's going to be a huge deal. Oh, Sacred Arrow on Toolbox. No way he survives. Torrent, X, Treant, Leech Seed. Easy pickup on the clock. No name, I mean, they don't have map control. They probably won't be able to seize it back easily. What's your play here if you're no name to avoid just getting raxed in a couple minutes?
Well, they've got a 5-man. You know, these are the situations where you have to desperation smoke. You know, they only have one tower down right now, and that's a lot of gold that's going against them. If the Clockwork does ult in at the right time, they can win the team fights, especially that bottom lane. It would be easy for the Clockwork to come in and save their team so they could all cast their ultimates in the fight.
Right.
And they just need to be able to get a push off. But it looks like IGID is going to do the push in and make it easy for them.
Yeah, there's the Storm. There's the Puck to follow up. Dreamcoil comes down just on the Kunkka so far. He is still silenced up. But they do not have detection. There's the Unstable Concoction from the Alchemist in the backcourt. I Kiss My Sister might actually walk over from this Moonlight Shadow to follow. There's the Torrent. Ghost Ship as well. That'll reduce his incoming damage quite a bit. This fight is so split. Kunkka is caught out by a Fissure, but again, they just don't really have the detection, and it's completely wreaking havoc on No Name's ability to take a fight the way they want. You have everybody except the Bane walking away alive. Actually, Sacred Arrow even hitting on the Sven to ensure their escape, and that's got to be a bitter pill to swallow, the inability to pick off Sven with the Shadow Blade chained into Moonlight Shadow. I mean, they don't have a natural gem carrier, but just the lack of detection is killing them. This Mirana is just doing so much work.
Yeah, well, the thing is there, Earthshaker, again, does have a Sentry Ward on him. He just didn't place it down in the fight.
Huh.
So it's just it's awareness that's losing him these fights.
Yeah.
But IGID had no business pushing there.
Right.
When you have, you know, like StarCraft players, casters will say, when you're ahead, you need to play to get more ahead. And they're pushing. And if you're trying to push when you have just a little bit of an advantage, it's not enough. When you have the core critical items that No needs, the Blade Mail on the Clockwork, the Blink on the Puck, the BKB on the Sven, you know, they got those core items. So pushing now isn't really going to give you anything. You just need to have much more levels and much more farm to win the fights at this point.
Right.
And, you know, execute properly.
Sure. You think lesson learned for them from that fight, though? Because Kunkka's just going to Shadow Blade away. Probably no way that they can catch him. I think they have Hookshot, but they just couldn't find the positioning. Yeah, I mean, IGID, I think somewhat chastened by the fact they couldn't make anything happen in that fight. They did lose the Bane very quickly. They prevented themselves getting any more losses. Oh my god, Delicio's jumping way in. He actually doesn't have his orb. He still has Blink available. He's going to probably have to blink out. Oh, he blinks while Friendly Wizard is in the Fiend's Grip cast animation. So Puck walks away just barely. I just feel like sooner or later there's going to be kind of a ticking time bombing effect. Because IGID, his Alchemist's net worth is about double Sven's. He's pretty close to his BKB if he wants it, and after the Alch BKB, I feel like they almost can push, and it's not a problem.
Yeah, now the Alchemist isn't going to be here for this fight if they choose to do it. And No has won all these recent fights, arguably, in terms of order of casting the spells and being able to get the pickoffs early on that Bane like they need to in the fight.
Sure.
So the game's just waiting for IG and ID to take it, but we'll see with this arrow.
Nope. Nice phase shift to block that Sacred Arrow, and Actually, no playing a little bit defensive. Maybe they could have jumped in and tried to disrupt there, but instead, IGID walk away as the split push has actually reached the high ground. AD and Lorenza probably going to get a little bit of tower hits. No, he decides to walk off. Zunmaster could have possibly threatened, so he's happy with the amount of split pushing he just did. How close are we to BKB on Elk? Actually, if he wants it, he has it in 100 gold.
Now, one place right now that Noah should think about Warden is just ahead or just up the hill in the top lane. And just in front of the towers, in the 2 towers that they have up. Well, they're about to lose 1. But, so it would be just up on top of the hill, going into the base. And the reason being is Clockwork, his ultimate is the saving grace for them in these team fights. And if he can't see what he's hooking, that's the end of the game for them. Right. Also, if they're going to try to do the split push with the Alchemist, and the Alchemist is always farming off on the side lane, if he's blinking away, you need to be able to have a Sentry Ward and an Observer Ward up that hill. And if Clockwork picks him off, that can be the catalyst for them turning around and pushing a lane. So they need to have vision up that hill to let this Clockwork win the game for them. Otherwise, you know, it's gonna come down to luck.
Mr. Mike caught out a nice offensive Moonlight Shadow. Their first, like, Moonlight Shadow gank of the game, really. Meanwhile, Echo Slam only lands on 2. He doesn't manage to follow it up. They are taking a tremendous amount of damage from the Puck combo. There's the Stormhammer to follow. Zunmaster with the ultimate, cleaving down, but an excellent overgrowth after he uses BKB, and unfortunately, Zunmaster may not be able to catch anybody after all. Sven now trying to run away from the fight when he tried to run in to start it, and they end up losing 3 for 2. Not actually the worst trade, but again, it's on 2 of the less... No Alchemist kill, no Kunkka kill. Kunkka has lived by the skin of his teeth through so many of these fights. Actually finishes the Daedalus off the back of that. 10-1 and 10 for I Kiss My Sister. And I guess just 90% of the way there on the execution for No, but the BKB a little bit early maybe on Sven. Or did he use it to stop at Elkstone? I'm not sure.
You know, when I was watching that fight, it was the Clockwork ultimate, and he just barely missed. And when I say he missed, he hit the Alchemist, and he got the Alchemist. But getting the Alchemist is the last thing that the Clockwork wants to do in those fights, right? Because he's just going to be mincemeat, and Blade Mail does nothing to BKB. Right. So he was just a few pixels away from getting to the Kunkka and get into the tree, who were both very low health. And if he was there with his Blade Mail up and Kunkka just hit him once, Kunkka would have self-imploded, and so would have that tree. And then there would have been all their heroes there who could focus down the Alchemist together. And you can kite an Alchemist around in circles like that as long as you don't die in 2 hits. Right. So... He doesn't have Basher, so... Yeah, he doesn't have Basher. Lol. Oh, he does. Yeah.
Off that fight, he built it, yeah.
So, but he just barely missed, and again, they're fighting in that uphill spot, which is a really awkward place to be fighting for anyone to hit anything. Yeah. The Clockwork's never going to get a good angle there because that neutral creep camp spawn just gets in the way of the good picks he wants to get, and all the tree and the train, he just can't really get in a good spot. So they gotta play a little more passive and hope that they can get a good pick off up the hill and go from there.
Yeah. IGID off that fight, they secure, I think, the first Roshan of the game, so that's Alchemist holding that Aegis for the next 6 minutes, and I feel like they're pretty comfortable at this point. They've weathered even the fights, even those big team fight combos, when they land for a No, unless they get literally 100% of their spells in the exact positions that they want, it's no longer enough to actually take the fight if Alchemist is present at it. So they're falling... Rather than trying to catch up, rather than equalizing, they're kind of falling further behind with each of these fights that they take. It has to be very close to perfect. They can still do it. I mean, I think you've rightly pointed out that if all the spells land, they've got a hell of a teamfight combination, but it's with no Darkseer, the margin of error is really low. Like, a Darkseer in this lineup suddenly makes the margin of error, like, super high. Like, it's really easy. But without him, it's really hard.
Now, one thing they can rely on, too, is they have a Chrysalis now in that Sven, and if he gets lucky... You can see IGID melting pretty quickly.
That's true. That's a huge point. Even after the nerf.
Oh, and he got a block, but they don't have the vision to follow up.
Yeah, he still has that sentry too. This is the thing. They're trying to conserve these. The thing with Sentry is that they've been using them mostly to deward, which is also good, but there's the Nightmare. Could this be IGID's opportunity? The Bane lifted up, they see him, they use the telekinesis. Earthshaker is still Nightmared. Toolbox, he's hooked in. 80 and Lorenz actually in a little bit of trouble. Was that a stolen Nightmare or the second Nightmare? I'm not sure. Moonlight Shadow, now he's beating on this Clockwork. Clockwork doesn't have a lot of tools here. There's actually the stolen Overgrowth, I think, but Earthshaker is brought down very quickly. Sven coming in, already kills Bane. Ghost Ship to try to save them. I Kiss My Sister disengaging, and once again, IGID able to somewhat leave the fight, but are they? 80 and Lorenza, he's stunned up. Toolbox was able to deal some damage with the Clockwork Blade Mail. There's the Unstable Concoction on 2. If Alchemist makes it out of this fight, amazing Sacred Arrow. The Torrent doesn't do much of anything. 7 Deadly Sins manages to finish off the puck. He's attempting to make it out of the fight as well. Living Armor will help a little bit. Uses Starstorm 2. No mana for Sven Stun, no mana for Rubik, and they walk away with everybody. What a stolen fight from IGID. By all rights, they should not have walked away from that with 4 alive players and the Aegis intact, but they do.
Now, I'm still very impressed by No in that fight. They were able to lock down the Alchemist, and Alchemist do absolutely nothing for that entire fight. And that was wonderful. I think the one mistake they had is the Sven was going off on his own, trying to kill off the rest of IGID. Whereas the BKB had already worn off on the Alchemist, and if he had turned, swung around back, and killed him, and then killed the Aegis again, they would have been much better off in that fight. But what allowed the Clockwork to be able to kite that fight so well was the Ghost Scepter. Perfect item pickup for this Clockwork. You know, the other alternative is you could have a Force Staff and you could force himself out of it, but the Ghost Scepter works just as well.
Yeah.
And I really like that pickup on the Clockwork. He's given them the chance to get back in this game.
Yeah, I think the Clockwork, especially that hook, was really, really fantastic. Catch the Alchemist and then just hang out with him for a while with Ghost Scepter active, and then after BKB runs out, you can do the same thing again, but then with your Blade Mail, and it's very difficult for him to convince himself when he's not on BKB to actually fight you. So I think, yeah, well-executed fight from No, but again, they're in the position where to win, they need the fights to be at like 100% efficiency, and they're at like 90 right now. Like, they're not quite getting everything to come together. Decent defensive fissure, but again, No, they're in a very, very delicate position. One more Sacred Arrow giving IGID the opportunity to initiate on them, and it could be a lot of trouble. Actually, 7 Deadly Sins, he's stealth. They're Nature's Guys tricking him. Zunmaster's in a lot of trouble. He manages to use the BKB, but nice Overgrowth. There's Echo Slam in response from Technoobzor, but they're in so much trouble. Alchemist is just chopping them. Excellent Cogs hits the Alchemist twice. They're going to try to turn it. Zunmaster beating on him. The big cleave coming through Zunmaster. Toolbox, he's trying to fight Alchemist. It's not enough. Clockwork is down. Mr. Mike, actually, that was a really bad nightmare, so Rubik, no. Brain Sap will bring him down. Excellent stun chain! Delicios jumping in as well. They take away the Aegis, and the Bane is down. So it's actually a 2-for-2 more or less, probably only a tier 2 from IGID and No Name. Honestly, they just hang on by the skin of their teeth in every single one of these fights, but it's pretty thrilling to watch them just not, you know, they're not just rolling over and taking it, they're really, really staying in it.
Yeah, and that has partly to do with this Earthshaker pick and the Clockwork combination that just makes it so hard, especially for this Kunkka, to get into position in these fights and deal any damage. He's always sitting out on the outside, coming in late into the fights, and he's not able to do anything. Now, that fight could have looked a lot worse, too. The Sven in that fight wasn't there to do damage until it was way too late in the fight. He missed 4 or 5 hits. If he got earlier off, it would have looked completely different. It would have been a complete wipe.
That's true. He did get initiated on, though. Like, he was super low to start the fight.
Yeah, and he didn't get bashed, so he was able to get away with his BKB just fine.
Yeah. Oh, here comes the gank attempt. The Waiting Rift already going out on 80 and Lorenza. He pops a very, very early BKB. I think this is pretty smart. The Fissure will not land. It'll actually block them off. So, gank attempt deflected. Possibly a response from IGID. Here comes Friendly Wizard on the Bane, and I Kiss My Sister. A TP coming in as well. We could have a big fight, and it's not on No Name's terms. Not yet. There's the Moonlight Shadow, but they run straight into the Sentry Ward. Good Sentry Ward placement this time. Toolbox Cogs in. Delicio's in a lot of trouble. Puck already gets brought down. This could be bad. There's the Torrent. Zunmaster is in BKB form, but he gets Fiend's Gripped, and the response is just incredibly strong. IGID mopping up here. This is definitely the worst fight that No Name have been able to have. 4 down. It's going to be 5. 2 buybacks already, and a 5-for-1 wipe. They tried to gank the Alk and didn't manage to get out in time before the response came out from IGID.
Yeah, and that's the fight IGI has expected when they feel like they deserve this whole game. It's the first fight where it started without them making too big of a mistake, and No was not able to really kite all the heroes around in the way they wanted just because of the positioning on the map.
Yeah.
It was too wide open. So those spells, the Clockwork Cogs and the Earthshaker stun weren't able to block out all the damage dealing.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, in the end, this game is almost revolved around the positioning and the very beginning of the fights, almost every time. Like, if a team gets the positioning they want, or they're in a spot where they can just land all their ults, that's been a good fight for them. And when they don't, it can be disastrous. So that fight cost them a Rax. All things considered, that's not so bad. I mean, they only just lose 1 Rax off of it, not 2 lanes. So, No still hanging on in this game, but it's definitely difficult. Every single player is about 3 to 4 levels behind their counterpart on the other team, and just the net worth of this Alchemist is now 2.5 times the net worth of Sven. Now, Sven's pretty efficient for damage dealing, but not that efficient.
No, No's gotta, they've gotta get the team fights off perfect. And they have been doing a great job, and they're not going to give up. This is the elimination game for them.
Exactly.
So, you got to give them props. And,
for sure.
One other thing I want to point out is the RNG, the Sven, has not had many stuns, or crits in these fights yet. If he's going to get those crits off, this could look the other way.
Especially once he gets the Daedalus, yeah.
Yeah, there's that Kunkka, well... Kunkka has a BKB now, so how these fights look may be a lot different. A lot different.
That's true.
One other item I would like to see on this Kunkka, though, is a blink. Just
really?
So he can jump over everything. He can cast in his ghost ship, and then he can just blink in and get right on top of the fight instead of being X'd out by this Clockwork and this Earthshaker.
All right.
Get in there and do the damage right away.
Okay, I guess I can. I've never seen that, but I guess I can feel it. What about, I mean, if you're going to do that, why not Force Staff, though? Like, you can put yourself out of cogs, which you can't otherwise.
I think Force Staff is more of a defensive item than an offensive item, and that's why I wouldn't go for it.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, maybe. That's actually a pretty fun idea. I don't think I've seen that, but it could be legit, especially in this game when... As you noted, I think the positioning is so tremendously important. And a good position versus a bad position for an individual hero can mean... Especially for this Kunkka, who I think, as you rightly noted, like, he really hasn't been able to, like, spend 100% of the time in the fights, because he's always stuck at the fringe due to disables. Oh, they're barreling down the mid. They decided not to go for Roche, or maybe they felt that they mistimed it. They only mistimed it by, like, 5 seconds, but still. Nature's Guys for the Treant, so this might be very tricky. They've also been able to use stealth extremely effectively. Like, the Moonlight Shadow and Nature's Guys have really been messing with No Name.
Yeah, and, Noah's doing the right job with their ward placement. I like how they have the Observer and the Sentry up the hill.
Yeah.
But the map control of IGID, if they go patient with these fights and make sure they always clear out those wards, they're going to be able to do that with Tree.
Right.
So, Noah's not really in a position right now to buy a gem. They need every gold they can get.
Yeah. Plus, they can't. It's tough to hold on to.
Right.
Yeah. Roche number 2. So, actually, a good thing for No Name that this wasn't 3, because I don't think they can contest Roche. So, well, I mean, they just can't get over to it. If they started a fight there, they might be okay. But unfortunately, there's just no way to actually get there. Tier 1's still up bottom. Actually, Tier 1's bot and top are still up for Dire. Which, especially that bottom, just makes it really, really hard to rush against them. Actually, basically impossible.
Now, Alchemist sold his Midas, which does sell for a lot of gold, and, he's at AK. I don't know what he's looking to buy. Oh, he is going for his MKB. All right, he was at the secret shop and he didn't buy the Demon Edge, so I was confused at what item he was going to go next. But he does have the MKB for this fight.
Yeah.
They're going to wait on that, and then that's what they're going to engage.
That's a tremendously high damage Alchemist, with Aegis up as well. It's going to be so difficult to do anything against that. Nice Sacred Arrow stolen by this Rubik's Sacred Arrow aim is actually amazing. They are going to follow up. There's the Waning Rift, Dream Coil on 2. He immediately orbs to safety, but the BKB response from Kunkka, the BKB response from Alchemist. Zunmaster completely locked down. He's bashed to death, essentially, and Toolbox trapped within his own cogs as the Fiend's Grip rains upon his head. 4 for 0, IGID. They just have too much at this point, and No Name's team fight-based composition meets its end. They will be one of the first teams to unfortunately get eliminated from the competition, but honestly, not ignominiously. They held on really well for a while.
Yeah, and that fight was completely that tree. He got that ultimate off, and it was able to make sure Kunkka landed his thing. Kunkka was able to walk in because Clockwork had got caught out.
Right.
And quick and easy wipe.
Yeah. And that'll be IGID staying alive heading into the losers bracket round 2. We will actually be looking at the winners bracket round 2 next. We're going to jump up to there. Not sure what game yet, but I think if we can, we're going to try to peek at the defending champions. So Shibi's new team, who obviously Please Gang Shibi were able to win the last competition. So we'll see how they're doing. They are in winners bracket round 2, so they haven't been derailed just yet. And that should be a fun game. Justin, you got like a Twitter or something that you want to promote, or a team?
Nah,
or anything
it's
like
fine.
That? Yeah? You sure?
No.
Alright, fair enough. You going to join us for the next game, though?
We'll see.
Alright. Let me know on Steam or something. Alright, folks, this is the Steel Series Chicago Dota 2 Open. That was the losers bracket round 1 play. No Name, unfortunately, going home. I mean, they don't have to go home, but they can't stay in the tournament. And IGID advancing to the losers bracket round 2. Thanks for watching. I'm Vic Armand. Let's go to the next game in just a couple of minutes.